Imagine stepping off a train in the late 19th century and entering a perfectly manicured community where every brick building, iron fence, and blade of grass seemed part of a single unified design. Houses line the streets with uniform precision. The church, the school, and the general store all share the exact same architectural style. Neighbors worked at the same factory, pay rent to the same company that signs their paychecks, and buy groceries, tools, and clothing on credit at a company-owned store. This was the world of the American company town, a remarkable experiment that once dotted the nation's industrial landscape, offering a curious blend of paternalistic control and modern convenience. Although these communities sprang up in various shapes and sizes, they all revolved around one central idea: that a corporation could not only employ a workforce, but also house, feed, educate, and govern them under a single corporate umbrella. To understand how these communities came to be, it is important to remember the frenetic energy of post-Civil War industrialization. Railroads rapidly expanded across the continent, factories multiplied, and entrepreneurs scrambled for labor in remote or newly developed regions. Skilled and unskilled workers alike were drawn from rural farms, across oceans, and from growing cities wherever the promise of steady wages beckoned. Yet, once a business set up shop in an out-of-the-way location, perhaps near essential natural resources such as coal, iron, or timber, it faced immediate logistical headaches. Where would the workers live? How would they get groceries or send their children to school? State and local governments were often ill-equipped to provide infrastructure at the speed industry required. The company town model offered what seemed like the perfect solution. By placing housing, stores, and basic amenities right beside the factory, mine, or mill, a corporation could sidestep public bureaucracy and keep its workforce right on its doorstep. One of the earliest and most famous examples was Pullman, Illinois, founded in the 1880s by George Pullman of the Pullman Palace Car Company. Pullman was not just building passenger rail cars, he was crafting a grand vision of labor harmony. His town was laid out with landscaped parks, ornate public buildings, and brick homes featuring modern amenities like indoor plumbing. The press of the day touted it as a model community, and visitors marveled at how clean and orderly everything appeared, especially compared to the gritty, hazardous boom towns elsewhere. Yet beneath the surface of this controlled elegance lay a tension that would eventually boil over. Workers soon realized that the benevolence of Pullman's amenities came at a steep price. Rent in company-run housing was high, leaving many families scraping by after paychecks were docked for utilities, groceries, and even library fees. When an economic downturn hit in the 1890s, George Pullman slashed employee wages but refused to lower rents, driving workers deep into debt. This simmering discontent erupted into the 1894 Pullman strike, a historic turning point in American labor history that exposed an uncomfortable reality. In a company town, the employer held all the cards, controlling not just livelihoods, but daily existence. Pullman's story was hardly unique. Across coal-rich Appalachia, entire settlements were constructed around mines, with rows of simple wooden houses clinging to steep hillsides. Coal operators in West Virginia and Pennsylvania recognized that rugged terrain and a lack of existing infrastructure made commuting impossible. The companies stepped in, building basic housing and operating general stores stocked with everything a mining family needed, at a steep markup. Wages frequently arrived in the form of scrip, a proprietary currency only redeemable at the company store. This system solved cash flow issues for the operator, but locked the workforce into a perpetual cycle of dependency. As the cost of food, tools, and rent outpaced earnings, workers accumulated debt they could never repay, effectively chaining entire families to a single employer for generations. Not every company town was an unrelenting nightmare. Some, like Hershey, Pennsylvania, presented a far more positive image. Milton Hershey built his chocolate empire in a rural area where nearby dairy farms supplied a massive volume of fresh milk. To retain a stable workforce, Hershey created a picturesque town featuring tree-lined streets, comfortable homes, an amusement park, a zoo, and a school for orphans. Many residents enjoyed a genuinely higher quality of life, feeling a deep sense of community pride. Yet even in this success story, corporate oversight was everywhere. Hershey's management controlled which commercial businesses could operate in town, banned saloons, and ensured the public image of the town remained spotless to protect the corporate brand. Elsewhere, steel towns emerged along the Great Lakes and the Ohio River, including Gary, Indiana, founded by U.S. Steel. In Tennessee, the Aluminum Company of America built Alcoa to support its smelting operations. These corporations promoted the concept of welfare capitalism, suggesting a harmonious relationship between corporate success and worker well-being. Proponents highlighted paved streets, improved sanitation, and company-funded schools and hospitals. Critics, however, pointed out that corporate authority could easily morph into suppression. In a one-company town, forming a union or speaking out about workplace hazards meant risking not only your job, but your home and your family's credit at the store. These tensions occasionally erupted into violence. In 1914, during a strike over dangerous conditions in Colorado coal mines owned by the Colorado Fuel and Iron Company, the Colorado National Guard attacked a tent colony of striking miners and their families in what became known as the Ludlow Massacre. The tragic clash illustrated how dangerously blurred the lines could become between private corporate interests and public authority. Ultimately, severe labor conflicts, rising trade unionism, and new federal laws such as minimum wage mandates and restrictions on scrip eroded the economic advantages of controlling a workforce through housing. As automobile ownership expanded and public infrastructure improved, workers gained the mobility to live independently. While the classic industrial company town has largely vanished, its underlying concepts linger in modern forms. Today's tech campuses offer full-service environments, complete with dining halls, fitness centers, medical clinics, and dry cleaning. While modern employees possess legal protections and personal freedom imaginable to 19th-century workers, the fundamental balance between corporate convenience and employee independence remains a compelling dynamic in American working life.